Do you think there are any costs or downsides to sex positivity? If so, what?
Sex positivity. I know you talk about it. You talk about it a lot. So I mean, how do your patrons see? What do they mean by, or how do they understand sex positivity?
Sex positive means like having no shame, no discuss, no regarding sexual topics or being sexy or expressing sexuality. So yeah, in general, like sex negativity, if people are like want to cover sexual things, promote modesty culture, the opposite of modesty culture, right? Like if somebody wants to express their sexuality very openly, people who are like, very wear clothing that a lot of us would consider to be extremely, maybe revealing or
Yeah, I think I got it. Okay.
sexy. Yeah. Not encouraging that, not looking down upon that. I could actually look at the formal these are the things that come to my mind, but I could also look at the formal definition of sex positivity as well.
I think I got your point. I think the best representatives of that is the LGBTQ community. I mean, yes.
Well, let me actually read. Let me read this is actually going to be helpful. The sex positive movement is a social and philosophical movement that seeks to change cultural attitudes and norms around sexuality, promoting the recognition of sexuality as a natural and healthy part of the human experience, and emphasizing the importance of personal sovereignty, safer sex practices, and consensual sex. That's the definition.
Yeah, I think you were pretty close to it. So I think that the people who've done this or expressed or tried to change the attitude towards sex, how we view sex, I think hands down is the LGBTQ community. Because, for example, homosexuals to come out, obviously they were oppressed for so long.
And sex workers.
No, just LGBTQ people in general.
Also, I know and sex workers.
Oh yes, of course. So they say, you know what, this is who we are. You need to, and because it was looked down upon so much, that's why they had to come out so expressively and say, no, there's no shame in that. Conversely speaking, for heterosexual people, being a heterosexual was never considered a bad thing. So that's why there was no need to express. No, according to them. No, obviously outside of wedlock and promiscuity, that's a different thing. I'm talking about just being heterosexual by virtue
putting
of
your nudes out on the internet as a heterosexual. That's also part of sex positivity. Like, let's say, like, oh, here are my topless pictures. I don't care. People enjoy. That's also part of sex positivity.
I know that. You missed the point. What I was saying, that there was no reason. There was no need for, or people thought that there's no need to express your heterosexuality. Everyone knows everyone is a heterosexual. Everyone knows that you're going to get married to a person of opposite sex. That's what I'm saying. So, but now obviously LGBTQ, they took it to the next level. But now a lot of heterosexual people struggle to keep up with that. So the downsides, now I'm coming to the downsides. I think there is a downside because obviously it's just, there's always been a taboo around it that, okay, we know you're heterosexual. We know you have sex. We know, mom and dad and, people get married and stuff. So what's the point? What's the need to express that? Now, there could be a cost for for sex positivity. Like if your boss finds out, that you were just talking about your sexual interest or whatever, loudly, and someone else overheard it and they felt uncomfortable or something, I don't know. I think there's still a culture of, okay, let's just keep it private. You don't have to overly express it. Okay, you are what you are. We accept you for who you are, but I don't want to hear it. So I think there are some downsides, especially in the professional environment.
Okay, so I think the cost of overdoing it with sex positivity is that the person you are today might not be the person that you are 5, 10 years, 20 years from now. Okay, so when you're making decisions about what you want to put out there, okay, you have to take into account that person as well, right? So I am against modesty culture. I'm not against modesty. Okay, modesty itself is a preference that people could choose. Modesty culture is something that turns that into a virtue and imposes it on people. You have to understand that when you, because of the internet, if you are sex positive on the internet, you have to understand, you have to be considerate to a future version of yourself that might prefer modesty. And the things that you put out there might, that person, that future version of you might not want that out there. So be sex positive as much as you want, but maybe hold back a little bit in while you're being considerate to that future version of you about what that person would like of her to be out there, her or him to be out there, right? One thing that you might not care about today is that I don't care about how other people judge me based on how sex positive I am, right? Or how what I have put out there in the world, right? That attitude might also change. Okay, you might find that there are certain partners in the future that you're interested in, but they don't like the fact that this much content about you is out open in the internet. And today you might have the attitude that I don't care about that. Okay, but again, in the future, you might think about it and be like, actually, I wish I like this person so much. I wish he would look more highly of me. I wish this stuff was not haunting me around so this person wouldn't judge me like that. Again, I'm not saying that if you don't feel like that's justified, that kind of judgment. I'm just telling you that your attitudes about these things might shift. So just be mindful about that. Again, sex positivity is a good thing, but like everything, there's a limit. And if there is no limit, just understand that there might be some consequences to it if you go all out.
Kind of like getting a tattoo on your face.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, right.
No, I think that was a very good point. Because I think people will always be there who would view something. When we look at it on surface, sex is just another biological activity, just like consuming food or getting it out of your body, or anything, any biological activity that it is. But people are overly conscious about sex for some reason. Maybe it's the strongest emotion. Maybe it involves multiple people. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe it's got to do with your survival, but I guess food's got to do with your survival too. Well, people, yeah, if two men are starving, watch their humanity go away. So I don't know. But yeah, so people will always have strong views about sexuality, sex positivity. So as I think what Armin said, I think that was the best thing. So how you may feel in your rebellious teenage years, you might not want it when you're 30. In your professional, it can affect your profession, how you conduct yourself in front of the whole world. All of those things could be affected.
You might also think like, I don't need to change, the world needs to change. Okay, but even if you're right about that, the world is not going to change just because you want it to change, right? So you have to understand that, I don't like these standards, I wish these standards were not there. Yeah, I wish so too, but you have to deal with reality, and these standards are there, and it might impact you negatively if you're not careful about it, right? What do you think about this comment? You want to read it first?
I'm all for sex positivity, but promiscuousness can be considered high-risk behavior. Yeah, I think she probably mean, well, you using a high-risk behavior. I don't know what sense. Probably, are you talking about STIs and STDs, maybe, or
disease,
the high-risk
pregnancy?
Or a crazy ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. That could happen to a stalker. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you're playing as many variables as you put them in, yeah, of course.
I think there's
risks.
I think there's too much and too little, even when it comes to this. Like I think like many people on the left have gone too far, by kind of suggesting that there is no cost associated with having, I don't know, 100 partners. Okay, obviously, once you get after a certain number, you are putting yourself at significant risk. And a lot of people, and I know you could be careful about it, but after a certain number, your risk keeps becoming to dangerous levels, right? So this is something the left doesn't talk about, right? But I think the right also takes it too far by promoting no sex before marriage. You will have a lot of people are going to have very poor sex lives if you have no experience of sex before marriage, if they haven't tried it out with a couple of people, if they don't know what they like, if they don't know who would be a proper sexual match with them because they have never tried sex before. So the extreme that some people on the right take you and say no sex before marriage, and the extreme some people on the left take you and tell you like, oh yeah, there's no 5, 1, 200, 300. Who gives a crap? I don't think like these are both extremes that maybe their answers are somewhere in the middle. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, isn't that a cliche? Like, I mean, most things are, everything is in the middle, Like, I mean, it's just fascinating. It's such a cliche. I can't think of anything where we get a correct answer from from two of these political extreme sides. Either whether that's family system, whether it's compassion, or our views towards environment, change of environment, or whatever that is. Like these polar opposite sides always give us this extremist view. But when you think about it, you said, well, hang on a second, there has to be a happy medium somewhere along the middle. And yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, imagine 200, if you've slept with 200 people, you're even if we go by 5% of them are some crazy people, out of 200, that means what, 10 people could turn out to be your crazy ex-partners who want to kill you. If you say 1% of them lied to you and had a husband, and he finds out that it was you, and he comes and kills you, and you're like, what did I do to you, man? So of course there would be risks involved. I mean, obviously STI, STD, that risk also increases the more you sleep around. Condoms can break.
Condoms can break, and a lot of STDs just go through lips. You could just get STDs through kissing. So again, I don't want to scare people of having sex. Like there's a certain number of sexual partners.
But the more you do it, the more the risk.
But after a certain number, then you're just I almost used a phrase that I shouldn't be. Glad I stopped myself. To have your questions answered on the next live stream, become my patron today. You can do so with as little as $1 a month. Link in the description below.